Set. 4, 3, 1.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sunday Morning Quarterback Podcast. We are a podcast of three pastors who love ministry, leadership, and sports. We hope you are having a great Labor Day. Gentlemen, as we enter into the start of football, it is here. I'm going to throw it to the gang. Adam down in Richmond, Virginia. Adam, repping your gear today. I like it.
I got the true blue. I'm ready for football, baby. Let's go.
Dad, he's embarrassing us. We didn't wear anything. How you doing down there today, Dad?
I'm doing good. I'm really ready for the Star to finally make known to the world that it is the team of destiny.
Yes. Hey, we're going to come prepared next week. I'm going to wear all my cowboy stuff, so... Yes. Adam, you don't know what you started. But anyway, we hope you guys are having a great Labor Day. Man, we are off and running. We are enjoying the show and enjoying you guys' feedback. And today I'm excited to tell you that in the second segment, we have a special guest, our friend and pastor, Ben Flanagan. He is a pastor out at 2nd Houston, one of the biggest churches in the country. And he is going to be on with us to share a little bit of wisdom. And he's an old friend of ours. And so looking forward to that. But gentlemen, I think with it being the start of football season, we got the NFL kickoff this Thursday, and then this coming weekend is the start. College is underway, and so this episode is going to be all about our picks, okay? So, fellas, we're going to jump right in. Adam, I'm going to start with you, and here's what we're going to do. Off the air, we're going to pick each individual game because, guys, I think it'd be real cool for us to track how well we do so that about mid-season when I'm looking at about 75% and Adam's like 40%, okay? I just want to be able to throw that in his face. So we're going to pick all the games individually. But today, fellas, I want you to give me maybe your top 3 games. Maybe it's an underdog. Maybe it's a sleeper pick. And share the picks that you like going into this weekend. And then we'll discuss a little bit. So, Adam, I'm going to send it to you first. Who are the top 3 picks for you for this NFL kickoff weekend?
So these are my 3 surefire picks. I think the NFL, as always, they are very, very wise in their scheduling. The season opener between the reigning champions, the Los Angeles Rams, against the Buffalo Bills. I think the Bills are still upset about that coin flip last year with the Chiefs, and the Bills I'm very, very high on. So this is going to be a good game. I think it'll come down to the wire, but I think the Bills are extra motivated. They want to show to the world who they are and what they intend to accomplish. And so I'm going to pick the Bills to win in opening night. Second, I'm going to go with the game that probably preseason no one really cared about. And I think there's going to be a lot of eyes with the Panthers and the Browns because of one Baker Mayfield going against his former team. So he is just going to be uber amped up about that. And, I'm going to pick the Panthers. I'm going to say, I know Cleveland's probably got a better top to bottom roster, but I think that X factor of Baker and what he wants to do, and the fact that Cleveland's not going to have Deshaun Watson for the first kind of half of the season, I'm going to go with the Panthers. And I'm going to say Baker's going to have 3 touchdowns. He's going to have a high completion rate. And
3 touchdowns.
He's going to start the season off right. He's going to make do. The third is my surprise one. It's a team that a lot of people probably could care less about, and it's the Lions going against the Eagles. Now,
that's a good game.
The Eagles ultimately are going to win their division, but I think the Lions are going to come out of the gate. They lost.
The Lions are going to win their division?
No,
I know you're talking about the Lions going to win their division. You're not talking about Philly winning their division, right?
No, the Eagles are going to win the NFC least.
Hey, we're not there yet. That's the next segment. Hold all that blasphemous. Hold all that stuff.
I'll talk you football better than that. Unbelievable.
And so okay. I think a lot of people, they don't think much of the Lions, and probably for good reason. But, Jared Goff is still there, and they lost a lot of really, really close games last year. They've got a coach that I was watching them at practice one day. He really, really is able to fire them up. And so I think that'll be not a major upset, but it'll be an upset that'll happen week 1.
Hey, Adam, real quick. I agree with you. I think Baker's going to do good, but the real question is, how many picks will he have the first game?
Zero.
Yeah.
0.
Oh,
Hey, Baker's gonna
let me
come
ask
out
you this one.
firing.
Let me ask you this one. How many times is he going to get sacked?
Probably a lot.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, that DN down there in Cleveland, he's gonna be big game hunting for
Oh,
old
yeah.
Baker.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
funny. Well, those are good picks. I like those. I like that Philly pick. All right, Dad, what's your top 3 games that you're gonna be keeping an eye on this week?
All right, I'm going to be keeping an eye on 3 games. All are huge because 2 of them, I'm going to pick first Chargers and Raiders and
Ooh.
Bengals and Pittsburgh. I'm keeping my eye on, as you know by now, the Chargers, I think, are going to be a very difficult team to deal with. And the Bengals, I think they are much better than they were last year. They got an offensive line intact. They know what they need. And now I think they're coming for a championship. And so I'm picking the Chargers over the Raiders. I think that's going to be a very hard-fought game. But I think the Chargers are going to just out-muscle them a little bit. They got a tremendous defensive line. And then I think the Bengals are going to whoop up on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh, they have a problem at quarterback. They don't have anybody worth any salt. So I think the Bengals are coming for everybody, particularly the Steelers who've owned them for years. So I think I can see that being a 20-point win for Bengals. So I have the Chargers in a hard-fought slugfest. I think the Chargers will win. Bengals, I think, will win going away. And then one last game.
Yep.
The Dallas Cowboys are going to put away Tampa Bay in another hard-fought game, but they're going to make themselves known to the world that we are here to make some noise. So I think that's going to be a field goal win. But I think at the end, Dak Prescott will show himself to be true. So watch out for the Cowboys.
Adam, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, Adam. Come on, Adam.
The delusion just never ends. It continues. With all the injuries they've already had, you think you're going to beat the GOAT week 1. Is it in Dallas or Tampa Bay?
It's in Dallas.
It's in Tampa, and that's how we want it.
Yeah, they definitely.
No, I thought it was in Dallas.
Not going to win.
No, it was in Tampa last year. It's in Dallas.
No, I think it's in Tampa.
All right, I think you're wrong.
If it is in Dallas, that's okay. But I'd rather it be in Tampa, where they go into Tampa and then take them out.
It is. I think. Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe it isn't. Hey, but all I'm saying is we practically should have won last year in Tampa. Dak had the best game of his life, and there's no Antonio Brown or Chris Godwin.
Hey, let me just say this. I don't want to be a homer, even though I am. But Tampa, we lost our tremendous tackle, but Tampa's line, it's got some problems of its own. And so I think that's what's going to really help. I think our 7 from heaven is going to go off on Brady, 11 from heaven. And so I think he's going to have a big game. So I think it's going to be close, but now
somebody's been listening to Skip Bayless.
Super Bowl pick may shock you.
Whoa. We're not there yet. I know. Hey, let me push back.
I'm ready for the NFL.
Let me push back on this. You said the Steelers don't have anybody worth salt at quarterback. Is that talking about their new rookie too? They might not start him week 1, but what's his name from Pittsburgh?
Not enough to beat the Bengals. Not enough to beat the Bengals.
Hey, he's good though. He's good. He might not. They'll go Trubisky early, but once that young rookie, what's his name?
Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett. I like Pickett. He's a stud. He'll make some noise at some point. All right. Here are my picks. I'm going to go try to hit some of the games y'all didn't hit. Now, remind you, last year, there were like 50% of the games the dogs won, okay? So week 1, don't be shocked, ladies and gentlemen, if the favorites, the odds makers get it wrong. And so, let's see. Patriots at Dolphins, all this sizzle about Tua, which I like. They got Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I'm picking the Patriots. Everybody's been pouring dirt on them. Their O-line, I think they're going to come out. Think about it. They know Tyreek Hill. They know how to bracket him. Bill's going to have some nice defense. They're going to muck it up. It's going to be a dirty game. I'm picking Patriots over the Dolphins. That's going to be a shocker. Here's one that might get you, okay? There's a lot of noise right now in Baltimore. I'm picking Jets over Ravens, okay? Ravens.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, Lamar Jackson tweeted last night that a picture of him in the Dolphins uniform because he hadn't got his jersey yet. Okay, they're going to start a little slow. Jets beefed up their offense. They're not going to be anything worth the end of the season, but they're going to come up. I'm going to pick them as an underdog. And then I don't know if this is a sleeper or not, but I got the Vikings over the Packers. Okay, Kirk Cousins is going to light it up. Aaron Rodgers is going to dance, and he's going to realize that he should not have pushed his number one wide receiver away by doing too many game shows. And I got the Packers, and I think the Vikings. Vikings are going to make some noise this year. So those are my sleeper picks. But anyway, it'll be interesting to watch, and we'll keep up with our records. But fellas, next section, we're going to do this. We're going to continue this NFL talk, and we are going to take a look and pick our division winners. So here's what we're going to do. Adam, we're going to start in the AFC, and I'm going to go division by division, and we'll go one to another. So, Adam, first question is this. Who do you have winning the AFC East?
I'm going to go the Bills, and I don't really need to say anything else. Josh Allen, that's it.
Yep. Dad, who do you have winning the East?
Bills, easy. Running away.
Yep.
Easy pick.
I agree. All right, Adam, who do you have winning the and fellas, I'll put your picks up on the screen too so everybody can see them. Adam, who do you have winning the AFC North?
In the North, that's always a tricky one, but I can't help but go with the Bengals. Just because Burrow, he's established himself. He is that guy. And I know it's always a tough division. There's a lot of defense, a lot of, low scoring games comparatively. But like you said, they did beef up that offensive line. And so I think they're more, and it almost sounds strange to say, I think they're the most stable team in that division. So I'm going to go Bengals.
That's good. Dad?
Same. Burrow is a stud. He's a stud. And the confidence and the swagger that he plays with has permeated that team. And so I think it's going to be tough with Baltimore. They will hang around for a while, but they're such a tough team, and they always seem to fall apart at the end because of the style they play. So I think it'll be close for a while, but eventually they'll have some injuries, and Bengals will go ahead and put them away at the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree. I got the Cincinnati too, but I was torn. I thought about Baltimore, but then they lost Hollywood Brown, and they kind of took a little hit. But I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, remember last year they had the number one division in the NFL, so it'll be interesting. But I'm riding with Cincy. All right, Adam, AFC South, who you got?
So in the South, I might have a surprise. I want to pick the Titans, but I think this is the end of the Ryan Tannehill era in Nashville. Yep. And I think that'll start happening fairly early on in the season. And then my guy Malik will enter in around midseason. So I'm going to go with the Colts. I think the Colts, strong roster, good coach. Now they've got a veteran, quarterback coming in, and Matt Ryan. And I looked up and down their schedule. It's a pretty winnable schedule. So I'm going to go with the Colts to come out of the AFC South.
That's a gutsy pick. Dad, what are your thoughts? Who you got?
I don't know. I don't think it's as gutsy as one would think, because I was really torn by this pick. I think Ryan is really going to help them out. However, I think Ryan is going to win some games for him and lose some games for him. He has some very timely picks, and I think it's going to be real close. I think the Titans, especially with their coach, they play very similar to the Patriots. And so I think they play real smart. They're physical. They run the ball real well. And so I can see them just hanging in there and at the very end beating them out. I think Ryan will lose a game that they have to win. And I think they'll just lose out to the Titans. So I'm going again with the homer pick. I'm going with the Tennessee Titans.
Hey, if you would have picked against the Titans, you would have had some church treasurers riding at your front door. So that was a wise pick. You know,
Maybe that had a little bit to do with my pick.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit. I went back and forth too, but man, I don't know. I just, at the end of the day, you got Derrick Henry and a stout defense. And so I don't know. It'll be real interesting to see what the Colts can do, but I'm riding with the Titans too.
Tight.
All right, Adam, for your last pick in the AFC West, this is the one we're all waiting for. Who you got?
Yeah, I think we've spoken on this division in every episode we've done. There's a lot of anticipation about this division. It'd be neat to watch. But I'm not going to change course. I'm going to go with Denver and Russ Wilson. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think Denver and Kansas City will end up with the same record, but basically Denver will end up winning the tiebreaker because they beat Kansas City and they also beat more of the division rivals. So I'm going to go Denver. I got Russ coming out of the AFC West.
Let Russ cook, man. If that happened, I would be cool if that happened, but whoo, that'd be tough coming in first year. But hey, he's got a lot to prove. He didn't even make the top. They didn't even have him a top 10 quarterback in the top 100. I was kind of shocked to see that. I think we might all have 3 different picks on this one. Dad, AFC West, who you got?
First of all, let me put a nail in this let Russ cook stuff. I like him, but if he can make it to 500, I'll be shocked. He definitely ain't winning no division.
Come on.
I'm here. I'm putting 2 cheeseburgers on it right now. 2 cheeseburgers.
Five guys cheeseburger too.
5 guys and some of those fries in the bag right there. They are not making the playoffs, let alone win the division. I'm going Chargers all day long. They are loaded in every area. I'm a little nervous about their backfield, the defensive backfield, but I think their defensive line, the offense, the quarterback is a stud. I think they're going to have a good year. So I'm picking the Chargers. I'm sticking with the Chargers.
I didn't realize they got J.C. Jackson from the Patriots, so that helps, man. They're loaded. They look great on paper, but here's the thing: can they make it work? And is that coach not going to screw the game up for him? That's the question, because we've seen him do that. All right, I'm going with a simple homer pick. I think all this noise, I think it's going to come back down to Andy Reid in Kansas City. I think last year was a blip on the radar. I think Mahomes is coming out. People are putting dirt on him. They had him as like the 3rd quarterback ranked on the top 100. I think Kansas City's going to light it up, reinvent themselves. I think Pat's going to win MVP and usurp the fact that he is the number 1 quarterback in the NFL. And I think Kansas City is going to win that division. But, man, that one's going to be a fun one to watch. All right, let's head over to NFC. Adam, I'm going to start with you first on this one, even though I don't know if I should. Who do you have winning the NFC least?
The NFC least will be won by the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, no.
God.
No.
The division's is once again pretty weak. I think they will have a very similar record to the Cowgirls, but I think ultimately it'll come down to a game or so, and I think Philly's going to win the division.
Adam, there's no progress, Dad. All this 5 episodes in, and this is what he gives us. Dad, straighten him out. Who's going to win the East?
I'm dug in. I'm dug in. There's no changing.
Let me straighten him out here. One issue. They got no quarterback. He can run the ball, but if you're going to be a quarterback, you got to throw the ball. He cannot throw the ball. So Eagles have a good team. They have a very good team, and it's going to go down to the wire. I am not thrilled, to be honest with you, about our offensive line. I'm not really thrilled about, our wide receivers right now. We got rid of Cooper, which I think is fine in the long run, but I think we're going to struggle a bit. So I'm here to tell you, Adam's going to come on here for the next couple of weeks, and he's just going to be grinning from ear to ear, all excited, and say, I told you so. But it's in the end, we're going to catch some steam. We're going to catch some breaks. We're going to have a nice winning streak, and we will bypass the Eagles. They will start off in front, but we will bypass the Eagles and eventually overtake and never look back. So Cowboys.
Yep, I agree. Cowboys. I second that. And here's the thing. You're going to see a lot of bubble screens in Philadelphia. Everything's going to be underneath, nothing over the top. And if he does throw over the top, we're going to pick Jalen Hurts off. All right, let's keep it moving, fellas.
Hold on. Let me insert something.
Oh, no.
so Carson Wentz is now in Washington, right? And I think the world of Ron Rivera. I know it's probably the worst run organization in the NFL. And I live in Richmond here, and I listen to the local radio guys that are supposed to be big Commanders guys, but I just found out that the Cowboys games are going to be live streamed on the local radio here in the Washington, D.C. metro area. So with all of that said, I've got to say this: if Carson Wentz gets injured, like he often does,
Yeah.
if he gets injured in week 3 or 4 and Sam Howell is thrown out there and given an opportunity to have a decent chunk of the season, my guy, the UNC Tar Heel, is going to lead the Washington Commanders to take that division if Carson Wentz gets hurt.
What?
They said that about the quarterback they had last year. What was his name? I can't even remember, but he played pretty good. And where's he now? No telling.
Did
No
y'all see
telling.
Sam Howell in the preseason? Did you see what he was doing?
Preseason.
Hey,
No,
Talk
I
about a
don't watch
homer
ACC
pick.
football.
Joseph, do you hear that homer pick? North Carolina
Unbelievable.
looked up. He's got
I
the
thought we did
Panthers, and
better.
now he's got the Tar Heels inserted in our NFL discussion. What a homer
Unbelievable.
pick.
All right, fellas, let's keep it moving. So we talked to NFC least. All right, Adam, who is going to win the NFC North?
so the NFC North, it's hard to pick against Aaron Rodgers. I think they'll start slow as they often do, but ultimately I think that'll come down to who's got the best quarterback. As long as he's still in that division, I can't give it to anybody else. So I'm gonna go Green Bay.
All right, I'm going to chime in first before you do that. I think this is the year. I think Kirk Cousins, Mr. You Like That, is going to take the division. Man, they're stacked. You got Jefferson, you got Thielen, you got a new coach in there. I think the coach is going to help him scheme a little bit. And I think Aaron, they're going to have a big regression. I think he's going to try, but he just doesn't have the receiver. So I've got Minnesota, and you got the running back back there. I got Minnesota. Dad, who you got in the NFC North?
I think it's going to come down to the very, very end. And as bad as I want to pick Minnesota, I just cannot do it. I think Aaron Rodgers will find a way at the end and take the division. I will not be surprised. No cheeseburgers on this pick. I'm going Green Bay, but by a hair.
Y'all are some chickens. I think we know the answer to this one because this is a pretty weak division. Adam, who you got for the NFC South?
So I'm going to go with the team with the most stable quarterback, the team that, is probably everybody's pick. I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to go – you got to go with the GOAT. Brady, he can roll out of bed and win that division, so I'm going to go Tampa Bay.
Hey, I appreciate you not being a total homer there. Dad, who you got?
Of course, it's going to be Tampa, but let me just say this about Carolina. I actually like Baker. I think he's going to have a pretty decent season. I can see them going 500. And to be honest, I think 500, the Carolina Panthers, they'll take that. So Tampa Bay, it won't even be close. But I expect Carolina to have some good victories. And I think Baker's going to have a good year. And I'm rooting for Baker. I really do hope that he has a good year. So I'm with you, Adam. I think they're going to be play some good ball.
Hey, I'm really looking forward, though, Baker going at Tom. I think that'll really get him all revved up. And don't be shocked, too, if New Orleans, even though they got Jameis and they're always down, they always steal a game. So they'll steal a game, but I think we'll all ride in Tampa. And then this last division in the NFC is pretty tough. Adam, who you got winning the NFC West?
So hard to go against the Rams. I know that Arizona and San Fran, they've got good rosters and everything, but I think it'll just come down to quarterback play. I don't think Kyler Murray is consistent enough. I think San Fran, I still don't really fully understand what's going on with their quarterback situation. So I'm going to roll with the reigning champs in Los Angeles.
Dad, who you got in the West?
I'm with Adam. I think the Rams are head and shoulders the best team in that division. I think Murray, there's still some issues going on there. I don't trust their quarterback, and I'm with Adam. I don't know what's going on with their quarterback in San Francisco, what they're doing. So I think there's some stability in the head coach. And, of course, Stafford, I think, is just going to be that much better than he was last year. So there's a lot of confidence on both sides of the ball, good head coach. So I think they're going to roll that division.
Yep, I agree. It'll be. I just feel like Arizona can't put a full year together, so we'll really see how Kyler responds to all this noise in the offseason. But I'm rolling with the Rams. And fellas, last prediction segment before we move on. Adam, I'm going to start with you. Who are your Super Bowl prediction teams, and who do you think is going to win the whole shebang this year?
Yeah, so the NFC is pretty weak in every division. So this isn't going to surprise anybody. I'm going to go with the Rams coming out of the NFC again. I think the roster is just so full of talent, and I think Stafford now, maybe for the first time in his career, is going to be playing really loose. And, they've got this winning pedigree now. So I'm going to say the Rams will come out of the NFC. And then the AFC, again, not a surprise to anybody. I'm going to go with the Bills, and I'm going to say the Bills are going to circle the wagon. They're going to have the NFL MVP. Josh Allen's going to run away with that. And this was actually my Super Bowl pick last year. I'm going to go Bills, Rams, and I'm going to say the Buffalo Bills are going to win a Super Bowl. And I think they're just going to have this year where their franchise really gets everything they've been looking forward to since those, 4 consecutive Super Bowl losses or something like that. I think
Two of them lost. Two of them they lost.
Who beat them, Adam?
Dallas. Just want to let you, in case you didn't know that.
Yeah,
Jim Kelly's still crying.
When you were in pull-ups, Baby Joe, that happened. And so I'm gonna say the Bills are doing it, and all these years of pain, all these drunken, broken tables, tailgating, it's all gonna be worth it for Buffalo Bills Mafia.
Oh wow! Hey, that's a good prediction. All right, Dad, what do you think? Who's your Super Bowl matchup, and who you got winning it?
I like what Adam said. I like the Bills a lot. However, I am going the Bengals to go to the Super Bowl. But who was in the Super Bowl last year? The Bengals. Who was in the Super Bowl last year? The Bengals.
That was like the Lakers bubble championship.
They have a stud quarterback who I think is going to make some noise. They're going to go up against Josh Allen for the MVP. He had nothing last year. Him and a wide receiver, that's all they had. Now they have an offensive line. They have a good defense. They've tasted what it means to go into the Super Bowl. They tasted what it's so close to victory. So I think Burrows is going to lead them back to the Super Bowl, and I think he's going to play one of his idols, Tom Brady. The Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay, if you go back to that Tampa Bay game against the Rams won the first quarter only and barely hung on. So I think Tampa Bay, I think pretty much certain that this will probably be his last year. I think Tampa Bay want to win one more championship for Tom. They got the horses. They're stacked. I like their coach even better. And so I think they're going to put it all together and catch fire toward the end. And I think you're going to have Tampa Bay versus the Bengals, two stud, very similar playing styles. And I'm actually going Joe Burrows to win the Super Bowl.
Wow.
And win the MVP. Burrows.
Wow.
You saw what they did last year. They went on the road. They beat a lot of good teams, and they played right there with the Rams. As a matter of fact, if you would have put a good offensive line with the Bengals, I think they beat the Rams.
Have they got one yet? No. Man, and all that noise you made about the Chargers, you think the loaded Chargers are going to lose to the Bengals. That one's a shocker. You know, I've been going back and forth.
I like Burrows is a stud.
You know, Adam, I've been going back and forth. I think at the beginning of the morning, I think I had Bills, Rams, and I could see that, but something just tells me that the Chiefs, I mean, I hate to be the Chiefs guy, but I could see Mahomes being Brady and Allen being Peyton. And they just get head-to-head, and Mahomes just got a little bit more cheese. Again, I think everybody's pushing dirt on him. I could see, I don't know, though, man. I'd like to see the Rams and the Chiefs or the Rams and the Bills, but I'll go Rams-Chiefs, and I'll say Chiefs are going to be victorious this year. I think it'd be too hard for LA to repeat. I think they can get there. But, hey, Adam, let me just say this. And you said it best. The NFC is wide open, and you better not let Dak Prescott get in that tournament. That's all I got to say.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. We can beat the Rams, okay? Stafford, he can still clam up. Don't let it fool you. So don't you be shocked if the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, and I hate to say it, but the Niners, man, they're a wild card. We have no clue what the Niners could do.
Yeah, y'all know about that.
No quarterback.
All right. Well, hey, fellas, we got the tape. We got it on record, all of our picks. So next week, we're going to come and we're going to see how we did. And in Super Bowl, we're going to replay the tape and we're going to keep up with it. So anyway, we are so excited for this Thursday as the NFL season gets kicked off. And now, fellas, it is time to segue into our next segment. And we're going to take a break here before we jump on with our friend and pastor, Ben Flanagan. All right, guys, we are going to segue into our next section on ministry and leadership. And today we are so happy to invite to the podcast our friend and fellow pastor, Mr. Ben Flanagan. Ben, you doing all right today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on the show, guys.
Absolutely. And for those of you wondering, we all go way back to our days at Tennessee Temple University. And Ben, you and Adam were the same. Y'all were the same class, weren't you?
We were. Yeah, we were. I think my GPA might have been a little lower than his, but who's counting?
That's funny. Well, Ben, being a guest on the show, we have 3 questions typically that we like to ask all of our pastors. The first one is, would you tell us a little bit about your family? And I know you got some big news coming up. Second question is, would you share with your sports bias? And then third question, and this is a new one we're going to have to start asking every guest, what is your biggest preaching blunder? So go ahead and share a little bit with us, Ben.
Yeah, that's great. I am married to my wonderful wife, Leah. We've been married for about 6.5 years now. And so we have a little baby on the way, our first child on the way in about 3 weeks. And so we're kind of just counting down for that. And we're super duper excited about that. Biggest sports bias. Well, my wife is a Texas A&M girl, and so this fall I'll be wearing my maroon and white, and we'll be cheering for the Fighting Texas Aggies and all of the players that we bought.
Now stop there. I'm gonna stop this.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
I'm not gonna let you get away with it. So when I met you, you were adorning burnt orange, and it perfectly matched your beautiful burnt orange hair.
Yeah.
So I gave some love to the Longhorns last episode. So tell us about what happened. Were you just, wanting to get in good with the family, or what? How did that happen?
All of us at one point or another have been backslidden or walked away from the Lord, and so that was part of my prodigal journey, and I had to come back home to good old Kyle Field and Bryan College Station. So, I really wanted to get married.
Yeah.
Wisdom.
So, I mean, you would know that since you rock some orange yourself and sing Rocky Top.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Get him, man. Get him. Yeah. Hey, College Station, that's on my sports bucket list. I'd love to. Ben, have you been to Kyle Field?
I have, yeah. There's no
awesome.
place
I
like
bet
it.
I bet. All right, Ben. I know you've got a long list, and we're going to start asking guys this question. What is your biggest preaching blunder?
Oh man, this is a great story. So when I was 19 years old, I was doing an internship at a church in Northeast Texas in a little town called Sulphur Springs. And so at the end of the internship, the pastor was going to allow me to preach on a Sunday night. And I was really, really excited about it. I was very, very nervous about it. I'm pretty sure I prepped more for that one sermon than I have for any sermon that I've ever given. And I felt really ready. At the beginning of the service, they had a time where people could come down to the altar and pray. And so I went down and did that and tried to look really, really spiritual for this sermon that I was about to give. And the pastor was just super encouraging, came up, knelt down on the floor with me, prayed with me, whispered in my ear and told me, said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm so incredibly proud of you. I want you to know that God is going to use you in incredible ways. But I also want to let you know that you need to always wear a belt because people can see a little too much right now." So
That
you
is
just kind of what do you do in that situation?
What do
You
you
just
do?
power through. And I
Power
just said,
through. That's
I
right.
said, thank you, brother. And I pulled up my pants and I went to the pulpit. And yeah, it was great. I don't think I ever recovered, but it's okay.
And been wearing a belt ever since.
You won't find me on a Sunday morning without a belt on.
That's hilarious. Well, Ben, we appreciate you being on, and I know we all have a special place in your heart. Dad, you remember that time when Ben preached in chapel and he slammed that pulpit and everybody jumped up? And man, it was cool just seeing the Lord have his hand on you, and we always knew that you had so many great things in your future. And let's still segue into our first question. The Lord has landed you at Second Houston, and for anybody that isn't aware, and I don't mean this in a boastful way, but Second Houston is one of the largest churches in our country under the senior leadership of Dr. Young. And so as we talk ministry, contextualization is a huge part, okay? Dad, you kind of come from a revitalization church. Burning Bush here is a very community church. Adam's early in his tenure at a church in Richmond as they're growing. And so, Ben, you kind of come from a different perspective, and your contextualization being in Houston, a metropolitan city, at a church very storied like Second Houston. Here's the question I want to ask you. Can you share with us a little bit about the mission, vision, and heartbeat of Second Houston, and tell us a little bit about what you do there, and just share, and I'm sure we'll have some questions to follow up with you.
Yeah, so it's a great question. The mission of our church really has always been what I think the mission of every Christian should be, and that's the Great Commission. And so everything in our church really does, it filters through the Great Commission. And so we don't do anything here at our church if it's not trying to reach people or to disciple people in a deeper relationship with Jesus. And that really has started from the top down, from our senior pastor. Since the moment that he stepped foot here on our campus, he made sure that we were going to be a church that reached the lost and also engaged other people who have already known the Lord, but they want to grow in their relationship with God. So we're very, very interested in reaching people and also building up the church. And so it's been really, really fun. I've been here on staff since 2014. So a little bit over 8 years, close to 9 years in March. And I've just really seen God do incredible, amazing things here at Second. And it's just a really humbling thing to be a part of this team here.
That's cool. Dad, Adam, I know y'all have some questions. I know. Let's just talk a little bit. Dad, you got any questions for Ben?
How has the culture of the church changed since, I know you've only been there about 8 years, but has that talked about how things have changed as culture changed within the church?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, culture is always changing around us. I think, we've all seen that in the last, especially couple of years. It's really accelerated, I would say, going downward with, just issues in our culture with sin, and it's more prevalent and more, people are less embarrassed about their own sin issues that they have going on. But our church really has always tried to lead the way and just proclaiming God's word and not being ashamed of what the truth of Scripture is. And so we've really tried to be at the forefront of saying we're always going to stand on biblical principles, and we're always going to engage culture with the truth of God's word.
That's good. Adam, any questions or thoughts?
Yeah, I just would like to know about Dr. Young. What do you think it is about him, maybe just his character and some of his leadership principles that have allowed him to be as faithful and continue on that late into his life? But what is it that's kind of made him stand apart from so many in that way?
Yeah, I think it's really one thing, and it's probably the word passion. I think, we've got a really, obviously he's gifted, but I mean, he's just passionate about seeing people come to know Christ, and he's passionate about God's word. And I mean, y'all know this. It's an easy thing to lose passion or for that passion to wane. But I think it really is a testament to the passion and the calling that he feels in his own life from God, that he would continue to do the things that he does at the level that he does. And, we're just thankful to be under his leadership here and to see that example. And it's been really cool, honestly, from my perspective as a guy who's really at the outset of ministry and, I'm 32 years old, to see somebody walking with God so faithfully for so long and operating at such a high level for so long. And it's been really, really neat and really fun to watch that.
That's cool. Ben, what would you say, most people, they hear, and when I say small church, mega church, I'm not saying one's greater than the other, but I mean, second run's probably upwards of 20,000, and a lot of people have preconceived notions about big church. What would you say are some things that most people don't know? But hey, we talk about in terms of community and friendships, that's one you hear, oh, there's no way to know anybody. Or what are some misconceptions of a bigger church like Second?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say probably, if you walk into any church in America, you can be as uninvolved or as involved as you want to be. So I don't think it really matters the size of your church. I think it matters about the person who's sitting in the pew and their heart. I mean, you can walk into any 4 of our churches on a Sunday morning and you can sit at the back and you can never talk to anybody, and you can walk out as soon as the sermon is over, and you can just be, at that level of participation. And then there's ways to get involved, I think, at all 4 of our churches. But we really do try to be very, very intentional with every single person who walks into the door of our church. And if they, have filled out any sort of card or information or whatever that is, I mean, we are going to follow up with them because we know that people matter and they matter to God. And so, I think no matter the size of your church, you build any church one person at a time and one soul at a time. And that's, what we're all about. And so, it's not a numbers thing, it's a people thing. We really do care about people, and our people care about people. You'll find that this place is the most welcoming place on planet Earth, no matter, what stage or phase of life or station of life you find yourself in. You're going to be loved and accepted here. And you're going to find this place really is a home, can be a home to you.
This is a personal question. What's something that you have really learned while being a pastor at Second that has helped you in ministry?
Yeah. So my ministry journey, honestly, when I came here, oh man, all I really wanted to do was to teach the Bible and hang out with people. Those are the 2 things that I really wanted to do. And honestly, that's what I kind of thought in college. I thought that's what ministry was. And I mean, all 3 of y'all knew me when I was 18, 19, 20, 21. And I didn't really want anything to do with systems. I didn't want anything to do with processes. I didn't want anything to do with administration. I thought,
Joe remembers that.
Yeah.
Room checks.
Yeah.
You
got a meeting? Oh man.
Shout out Donovan.
Yeah, but I just really, I've really come to love those things. Those things I've found are really necessary. Organization is really, really necessary. Administration is necessary. I think some of that has been unearthed in my own life, and passions and talents that I have in my own life for that have been unearthed as I've been here. And, I would say this amazing place has really helped to birth an understanding of why those things are important in ministry and why everything really does need to be excellent, whether you have a room full of 5 people or you got a room full of 5,000 people. As a pastor, you're in charge of that room, and you're in charge of all the things that are going on in that room. And you want to make sure that everything that's done inside of that room is done with excellence, and that there's no surprises there, and that you're taking care of people the best way that you can. So it's been
great
been fun.
Well, Ben, we appreciate that. That's awesome hearing about what God is doing through you and your ministry at Second. So, fellas, for our next question, we're going to talk a little bit about Christian living. And two episodes ago, when we had our friend Paul Lasso on, we talked a little bit about lukewarm Christians. What are things that hold them back? And so we're going to push that forward a little bit. But today, fellas, I'm going to present you with another question. And here's what it is. The question is, why do so many Christians never move from milk to meat? And Ben, I'm going to start with you first. Why do you think so many Christians get stuck in this place?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of reasons why Christians can do that. I think there's a lot of reasons why people in general never mature. So when you're talking about from milk to meat, I mean, the Bible uses that metaphor to talk about maturity. And so I think the lack of immaturity that happens in people's lives, especially in their Christian life, can be, I think there's a number of reasons, but I would probably put it to two different reasons. The first reason that I would say from that is they don't have a training partner. So they don't have somebody who's gone ahead of them. They don't have a direction to aim at. They don't have somebody who's walking beside them. And I would say from our perspective as pastors, that's our job. Our job is not necessarily to be everybody's training partner. It's not to guide everybody, but it's to make sure that every single person underneath our care is going towards maturity, and that they have somebody that they can link up with that can help them to further on in their Christian walk. And so I think the training partner is really good. Analogy, if you're looking at like a gym analogy, if you're going to grow in your fitness, you've got to have somebody who's going to push you, somebody who's going to show you what meal plan you need to be on, what workouts you need to do. And it's the same way in the Christian life. If you're going to grow in the Christian life, you need to have somebody who can walk beside you, who's a little stronger than you, maybe a couple years down the road, maturity wise than you are, and who can help push you in the right direction. So the training partner is big, but I think just as equally as big is a lack of service. So I found in my own life that, the times where I grow the most is when I'm serving other people. And so, that's kind of, if you think about the analogy with maturity, what separates a child from a teenager and from an adult is really, it's this viewpoint of getting outside of yourself and your own needs and starting to look at the needs and the welfare of other people. And that really, really develops really fast when we're serving. And so I think, everybody's got to have somebody who's helping them, who's coaching them, who's pointing them to Jesus, but also they've got to have an output at the same time where they're serving and they're learning their own spiritual gifts, developing their passions, and they start to see maturity happen. I think all three of us found that in different ways inside of the local church, but really it wasn't until I started serving that I really didn't start growing at an exponential rate in my Christian life. Not that I've obviously arrived at all by any means, but that's been a huge part of my life is serving.
That's good. Adam, you want to continue that thought on why so many Christians struggle?
Yeah, and I agree with everything Ben said. And I looked up the passage where Paul is speaking in 1 Corinthians chapter 3 about how obviously, this is the Apostle Paul. He's got the meat, but he says, you've not moved on from the milk to the meat. And here's why he says this. He says, you're not ready because you're still of the flesh. And, you have to really know what he means there. He doesn't mean that they're not Christians. What he's saying there is this, that there's a lack of desire. And because there is a lack of desire, that points to that underlying immaturity that Ben was speaking about. So I would say, there is a lack of desire. And then you have to ask, why is there a lack of desire? And I know there's probably a lot of different directions you could go with that and be right. But, I would say that a lot of that has to do with preaching. And basically, it's the idea that in the times in which we're living in, there's so much shallow, superficial preaching where it's all about, moralism, or you might say it's sentimentality, where it's just, be nice and don't get any arguments with anyone like that. Be a good person. And a lot of really, stories that captivate people, get their emotions going, but there's nothing meaty there. There's nothing doctrinal, I would say. I think that's probably a big part of it. And so it starts in the pulpit. What's going on in the pulpit ultimately is going to lead in the direction of the church. And so I think a lot of it is just that in so many churches, there's a lack of doctrinal preaching. And it doesn't mean that, every preacher is called to be as doctrinal as others. But my fear is that in so many churches, it's just kind of this, again, shallow, superficial, here's 7 ways to have a good vacation next year with your wife. And you don't really hear from the pulpit that meat of the scripture that leaves people wanting more and to dive deeper and to learn more and to give themselves to studying. So I think that's a big part of it, is just, preachers aren't preaching the word. And, that kind of idea about doctrinal preaching and that meat, meat's an acquired taste. Like when I was a kid, yeah, I like cheeseburgers, but if you would have dangled, one of these $50 or $100 A1 steaks, I may have liked it, but now it's like, man, that's it. That's the best thing you can taste. And so it's an acquired taste. It's kind of like coffee. Like, if you have good coffee, even if it's black, you don't go back to anything else after you've acquired that taste, because that is it right there. And I think that's so much of what's gone wrong in American churches, is that pastors just aren't preaching the deep things of scripture. So people don't know any difference. They don't know that there's more there for them, if only they would be willing to find it and nourish their souls in it.
That's good. Dad, before I pass to you, I'm going to jump in real quick because Adam literally just stole the words right out of my mouth. I think last week I came across a H.B. Charles video or quote, and he was saying how we should always preach Christ's cross crucified. And as I was kind of marinating on that, and I'm working a little bit with young adults in our young adult ministry, and some of them lack that desire too. And as I was talking in real time with somebody, I was thinking, what is it that fans that flame and fuels that fire? And to the best of my ability, just on a one-on-one conversation, I was saying, hey man, it's the cross, man. It's Jesus atoning for the sin of the world and loving us unconditionally. And out of that, we respond. That's our response to the gospel. And for me, that's where that desire comes from. And so I absolutely agree with you. I think it's, too much preaching. We get away from the cross and Christ crucified. So I thought that was a good little nugget. Dad, what are your thoughts? I'm sure you'll have a different perspective on this.
I agree wholeheartedly with everything everybody said. And really, I want to bring it all together. There was a passage that I learned on early in my ministry. And it's a passage that we all know. It's in Acts chapter 7, 42 through 47. And to me, that has always been the heartbeat of church, where it talks about devoting themselves to the apostles' teaching, fellowshipping, breaking bread, and prayer, worshiping together. And that was a word that etched in my heart a long time ago, and it's been at the forefront of everything that I've ever done in ministry, and that's the word together. And I think there's a culture that I think it's important to build within the church, and it's everything that you all said, from serving to coming alongside of people. And Adam, what you said, it starts in the pulpit, the teaching of God's word, because that's the core. That's what ties everything together. True fellowship is tied through biblical teaching, unity, biblical teaching, understanding that God created forgiveness to give away to others, biblical teaching. Jesus Christ is at the center of it all. And so it's really building that atmosphere of warmth and love. But here's the thing, it's not just warmth and love of the world, but warmth and love and togetherness of the Bible. And so I think when we can develop that culture within the church, so that when there are people coming to church, they want to be there. When they see other people growing in their faith, there's something attractive to that. And so they want what they see their friends or family have. And when they find out, what is it that makes you so different? And we share, it's the scriptures, it's the love of Jesus. So ultimately, I think what is really needed to help people move from milk to meat is the true definition of biblical love. And it's not just an emotional, just warmth, but biblical love contains some difficult situations and things of life. And so when we bring all that together and build an atmosphere of warmth, of love, of togetherness, of unity, of fellowship, prayer, a Bible study, and you bring it all together, people want that, and they feel it, they see it, and they know it. And again, we're not talking about superficial love. We're not talking about shallow preaching, because Adam's right. It starts with true, sound, biblical preaching. But when it all comes together with the understanding of the importance of bringing the church body together, I'm telling you, that's what people want. They want something real and authentic, and they notice it when they see it. And so even people that, are struggling to find themselves within the church, when they see that, they know it, and they want it. I really think that really helps to draw other people to a mature understanding of Scripture, because maturity isn't just Bible knowledge. It's living Jesus in all your life. And when we do that, there is a sense of peace, a sense of joy, a sense of true love, and that's attractive to people.
Yeah. If I can just chime in on that, in Hebrews chapter 5, the same metaphor is used, talking about from milk to meat. And the writer of Hebrews, I'm sure all three of you have a different opinion on who wrote it. Adam is definitely a Paul guy. Look at him. But it talks about how, they're unskilled in the word of righteousness. And so it wasn't necessarily that they didn't have the knowledge that they needed to have. They knew the gospel, but they were unskilled at applying the word of righteousness to their own heart. And that's a huge thing, I think. So you got to take personal responsibility also for your own immaturity. But, for all of us, we're all held at that standard of we're to be responsible for our own Christian walk. And so it is up to, the pastor to preach biblical truth. It is up to the church to love unconditionally, but it's also up to the individual to take their own responsibility for that, and to be skilled in applying the gospel to our own lives. And so all of us have to do that. Pastors, whoever pastors the pastor's got to do that. And so all of us are under that mandate in Scripture to be skilled in the word of righteousness and applying that to our own lives.
Yeah,
Agreed.
let me add one more thing, because I use that word doctrine, and that's like a cuss word in a lot of circles, because they say doctrine divides. What do we need with doctrine? What do we need with doctrine? Yes, doctrine divides. And Jesus said, I've come not to bring peace, but a sword. And much of what that entails is the truth. The truth does divide. Nothing divides like the truth, but the truth also unites. And so like Joe was saying, there is this overarching theme that every Christian knows. Yeah, we're supposed to be loving, but we need to know why we're supposed to be loving. So if you just say, well, you're supposed to love people, but then you explain to people why we're supposed to love other people, because God has first loved us, and you really get down into that, there's like this built-in accountability by which people must, as Ben was saying, live their lives by, in accordance with the truth of Scripture. And on this topic, those deep undercurrent truths that bind the Christian community together.
Let me add one last thing, Joseph.
All right.
No more.
Adam wants the last word on that one.
Oh, wait. I think this is important. I also think it's important that particularly leaders, and if you talk about maturity, we have to be praying for spiritual maturity within our church. If you notice, if you ever have on a Wednesday night prayer session, or if you're ever going to take up prayer requests, 99% of all prayer requests are physical. 1% is probably spiritual. And if you go throughout the Scriptures, particularly in Ephesians, every time you hear Paul praying, he's not praying about anything physical. He's praying spiritual. He's praying for the Ephesians. He's praying for the Philippians. I pray for the spiritual matters of the church. And so I think it's real important that the leaders, deacons, elders, pastors spend some real quality time praying for the spiritual maturity of the church. And so I think that is key. And so if we're not careful, we'll be preaching and teaching and doing all the right things, without the power of prayer wrapped in it. So I think we honor God by coming to him first through prayer, even before getting into biblical teaching, because, especially everybody on this panel, we love to open up the scriptures and expound the scriptures. But, I think a lot of times we fail to give the adequate time in prayer. And if you look at the champions, the heroes of the faith, they always talk about the power of prayer. And so I think in our generation, we have to be very careful that we spend adequate time in praying for the spiritual maturity and the leadership of the church.
That's good.
Yeah, let me add one more thing, because I think this is because I'm the guest.
That's right. That's
Hey,
right.
as long as you want.
I think a huge thing in ministry for anybody who's listening in leadership when dealing with people is maturity takes a long time. Like, it's not an overnight thing. And so if you're in leadership, at least for me in my own life, it's a long, arduous process to grow up. And so for leaders to not be discouraged when maturity isn't happening in your congregation at the rate that you want it to happen. I mean, God obviously is in charge of that process of growing up, but people have to jump on board with it as well. But not to be discouraged when people aren't maturing in the rate that you want them to mature at. And there's a saying that we have here on our team, is that ministry is where the mess is. And so where people are messy and where people are immature, that's an opportunity for the gospel to go into somebody's life and to start to rebuild somebody's life. It's an opportunity for God to start a new work or to continue the work that he's doing. And it's an opportunity that we get as leaders and as pastors to jump in and to get dirty and messy with people and, to really, really battle with them and to fight for their soul, and to fight for their marriage, or to fight for their relationship with their family, or to fight for their finances, or whatever it might be. We have that opportunity because that's where ministry happens. It's where it's messy and where it's hard and arduous. And so I would just tell anybody who's watching, or just you three guys, is don't get discouraged when people in your congregation aren't maturing at the rate that you want them to. It's really easy to do that, but God's in charge, and he's put you there in their path to help them and to shepherd them and to get them out of that mess.
That's good. Good shepherds smell like their sheep. Well, hey, that's a lot of good stuff, guys. A lot of meat on the table. Ben, I'm going to ask if you close us out in our final segment. Each week we'll do a word on leadership, and today you're going to be giving us a word on theology. And rumor has it that one Austin Gentry may have helped you out a little bit with your words. So I'm looking forward to it. What is your word on theology, Ben?
Yeah, he did talk to me about it, but I quickly dismissed that. So it goes with the theme of what we've been talking about today, and really I think that's the whole process of sanctification. I think sanctification oftentimes is misconstrued as the work that God is doing in our lives to make us look like Jesus, and I think that is true, yes, but that's also coupled with our responsibility. And so in the sanctification process, God is working, he's calling, he's convicting, he's speaking through his word, but at the same time, we've got to do some things. And so this past weekend, I actually taught on King Josiah out of Kings. And you notice that when he discovered the law in the temple, or rediscovered the law in the temple, he didn't just read it and then say, okay, now God is going to do all of these things. But he started to put reforms into place, and he started to tear down some of or actually not some, but all of the idols and the altars that were going on in the land of Judah. So he started to get rid of some of the things that were disabling the people of God to walk in obedience to the Lord and to the standard that God had on their life. Then he started to get rid of some of the people that were enabling the people of Israel to go on into idolatry. So he started getting rid of idols, and then he started getting rid of some of the priests. And then he started to implement some new practices, or renew some practices, and he reinstated the Passover. And I just thought that was a great template for sanctification. For a lot of us, there's some things that we've got to get rid of. We've got to get rid of some sin patterns in our life. We've got to get rid of some addictions in our lives. We've got to get rid of idolatry in our lives. We got to get rid of some people in our lives that are weighing us down, that are causing us or encouraging us to walk in the flesh or tempting us to walk in the flesh. I oftentimes think one of the godliest things that you can do is just unfriend somebody on Facebook, or to block a number, or to delete a contact out of your phone. I think that's, I don't think there's anything wrong with that if that's going to help you to walk in obedience to God. But then for some of us, at the same time, you got to reinstate some of those patterns of holiness in your life. For the Israelites at the time, that was the Passover. They hadn't taken the Passover in 100+ years since the time of the judges. And he said, we've got to reinstate this. And for some of us, we got to reinstate some of those patterns in our life and disciplines of holiness. And so for a lot of people, when they walk away from the Lord, they lose that stuff. They lose, when they drift away, maybe their wallet drifts away too, and they stop giving to the church. So they need to re-engage in giving. For some of them, when they walk away for the Lord, I think for everybody, when you walk away or drift away from God, you're drifting away from personal quiet time with Jesus, whether it's in his word or praying. And so I just think, what a great template for Old Testament template for sanctification is getting rid of things, getting rid of people, and reinstating holy things into your life. And so, that's a challenge I think for all three of us, all four of us here on the show. I think it's a challenge for everybody who's walking, but I think it's really sanctification kind of dumbed down at a basic level.
Ben, we appreciate that word on sanctification, and that's going to wrap our episode. Next time you come on the show, Ben, you will be a father, and I'm going to predict it here. I think Ben's going to have a girl. So we'll see. 3 weeks. Good luck. Fellas, it has been fun today. Hope you all have a good day. Everybody have a good Labor Day and a good week. We will see you next week. Starting next week, we're going to do an episode every week as football season is here. Y'all have a great day.